Welcome back to another episode of Constantly Calibrating, guys. I'm here to host you. My name is Brad. This week, we have a full crew here, a full 5 cameras, including guest Bryden Keks. Bryden, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Extra life yesterday, so maybe when I messaged Josh about this earlier this week, I made a very poor choice.
I was seriously like, that's why I checked in with you earlier. I'm like, are you sure you want to do this?
I feel mostly recovered now. This is like a healthy, getting back to life communication thing. So I think I'm good. But yeah, I'm doing good, I'd say. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
No, absolutely. We keep things, as anyone who's ever watched the show knows, we keep things pretty low key, so you don't have to necessarily be on. Like, at least not at full strength.
I'm definitely not on or at full strength tonight.
No, you weren't.
So, but otherwise, Josh is here. He's already said hello. We also have Thad and Justin with us. Guys, what's going on?
Not much.
It's been a day, but I won't get into that.
Yeah,
yesterday was the day, and it bled over to today. But I won't get into that either.
There's been many days, all of them days. I mean,
unless the podcast runs short, it's a pretty interesting story. But
we've had a week. I think everyone's had a week.
I still think I'm only I've only finally have gotten back up to like 95% from Extra Life 2 weekends ago.
I'm wondering if that's what my problem is. Like, I threw off my sleep schedule initially, and then I just couldn't get back on it, and I got sick, and I'm still not on my sleep schedule and meds, so just, ugh.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. But speaking of Extra Life, Bryden, you already mentioned it at the start of the show. You through Evolve PR, you did an 18-hour Extra Life stream as part of this whole Extra Life thing you guys did. Tell me about that. Like, tell me about the planning of what you guys did.
Yeah, so my coworker Jesse Radonsky, he's done Extra Life for 7 years in a row. So, like, people do Extra Life. Like, I've done Extra Life. I've been doing Extra Life stuff for a couple of years. When I found out that he's done 7 years in a row, I was like, I didn't even know, like, that's, like, very close to the beginning of this thing. Like, kind of crazy. And it's always been a thing for him. We worked together last year, and I was aware that he was doing an Extra Life thing, and I wanted to do one with my friend for the first time. So we both did our own streams, kind of, raised money, did our thing. And when I came around this time, especially because our team has grown a little bit in the last year or so, I thought I'd throw it out to Evolve as a whole and be like, hey, do any of you guys want to actually do this as like a team? So it's kind of a good opportunity to, use the fact that we are in the games industry and have, some connections, I guess, to like be like, hey, we're raising money for the kids and stuff. So I reached out to Jesse. He was down, kind of threw it out to everybody, and like most of the team was pretty up for it. So we ended up kind of, trying to sort some stuff out. It was still a little bit more haphazard than maybe if we do it next year or something like that. But we ended up doing 60 hours combined. Last weekend, Jesse did 24 hours by himself. And then this past weekend, Erica started us off on Saturday with 18 hours. And she's been around in the Twitch community since forever. She was even like around Justin TV days. So she, it's kind of, old stomping grounds for her. So I had a lot of fun watching her and seeing her get raided, and a bunch of crazy things happened. But then, with that, she finished up, and then I took over for her on Sunday, and we did 18 hours with my coworkers Jessica and Chris.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, Justin, go take care of that. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, so yesterday was the big day for the three of us. We ended up raising combined, I think, $2,620, which, like I raised like I think $330 last year, so that was not like it was crazy. It was really awesome. I think going into this weekend we're at about $1,000. On Saturday I was supposed to be a human and like go outside and do stuff, but I got so rolled up into Erica's stream because just like the support was crazy. How many people were watching was insane. Like at the end, I think like in the morning, sometimes she was playing Overwatch, and she was like one of the top 5 Overwatch streamers somehow because she got like rated and people were joining. I think she had like 1,400 viewers at some point. I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, what is this even a thing?
Look, you put luck with being entertaining. You put those two things combined, and something people want to watch, and you get a lot of viewers.
So it worked out, and I mean, we did our thing yesterday and raised a bunch of money, had a lot of fun, had some devs on as well, which is really cool. It was a really cool opportunity because I get chances to play games, but Extra Life is you're raising money, but it's also this really awesome excuse to just kind of like go, I'm going to play games for like a full day straight, like catch up on anything that you might have missed or something like that. So
it wasn't Jesse's mentality of like just going after his backlog pretty much for 24 hours. Like, that's kind of seen what he did. It's
a really good idea.
It's a really good idea for it because most of us, particularly, I think, especially those of us who work in game industry, in this industry, get no time really to play games. At least the games maybe you want to be playing, like it's not your job stuff. So Extra Life, I think, is a great opportunity. Just be like, I haven't played this yet. Like that was us. We'd never gotten a chance to play Gang Beasts due to many issues. So we played an hour of Gang Beasts, and that was a lot of fun. It's a game that everyone has played to death in Let's Plays and streams, but we finally got to do it. Yeah. So it's great. I love the work you guys did raising money because I watched. I think I watched a couple of hours of Erica's, and I think I watched like a total of probably almost half of what you guys did, Bryden.
Awesome. That's it crazy.
Was,
Thank you for watching.
No, I mean, it was entertaining. Like, that's the thing, is it was entertaining. Even like during low-key moments, it still kept things going. And it's cool to see what you guys did for a first year, the way you put things together. I'd be really curious, with the experience, I imagine you guys are going to now make this an official thing, Evolve PR possibly doing this on a yearly basis. I imagine you also haven't really discussed it fully yet, but... Yeah,
the conversation this morning was me and Erica were like, so next year, like jokingly, we're like, but yeah, I think the thing that kind of my takeaway is my first ever, I watched Extra Life for years beforehand and really enjoyed it. Last year was my first actual year, and it was just like, it was fun and it was really enjoyable, but it was like a technical nightmare, dumpster fire.
Oh, yeah.
Tried to make things work. And then you have that moment where you're like streaming at 4 a.m. in the morning where it's like 3 viewers or 2 viewers and you're like, is anybody out there? Like, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to put a lot of effort this time into contacting developers, actually setting up the stream, like trying to plan everything out so that it was not like just, winging it. And, there were a couple technical difficulties, a couple things went wrong, but like overall, I was actually really impressed by the fact that it didn't fall apart at the seams, because it's really easy when you're streaming for so long. It also gives you so much appreciation for all the people that do that as like a job, like that they are able to like put this face on and make sure everything's running all right and not, like that doesn't fall apart, and that, or if it does fall apart, that they're able to just like, troubleshoot it on the fly.
Well, I was going to say, that's the part I kind of struggling with. It's not only like troubleshooting on the fly, but trying not to react in a panicky manner while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's quite, you got to like, to keep that cool, keep that comment, but like, that's what I'm curious about. So you do PR for gaming. Now, having done this whole thing, does that give you like a new vantage point on streamers, whether it's the smaller streamers or the larger ones, like give a new vantage point of actually what they do, what they put into this?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing for me because my like origins of this industry are very much, I used to do YouTube content started doing it like in 2011 or so, and that's kind of how I got my start. Like I was doing post-secondary like business and English literature and things like that, so I was like, I know how to write and I can do the business type of thing, but my interest was always in games, and since like a long period, I was like, I just wanted to kind of make some type of content, like dabbled in doing podcast stuff, dabbled in doing video stuff. And so streaming was always something that I never really, like probably streaming was the weakest link out of all of that, because it was something that I was more into the video edited side, making like a produced like type of shorter video and then putting that out.
That was always our thing as well for the longest time.
And so the streaming end of it was kind of daunting, and also like you don't have enough appreciation for what those people do until you kind of do it. But I started streaming more I guess, last year for work and then just on my own time. So I started getting my feet wet, but I haven't streamed in quite a while because of just my setup and things. So this was kind of jumping back into that. But yeah, it's just that feeling of like you said, you get an appreciation for what those people do. And, you know, a lot of what I do work-wise is understanding the people that we work with, right? And it's a really... It can be easy on like a very surface level way to be like, yeah, this is what these types of media people are, and these are what the types of things that these people do. But to understand a little bit deeper is something that sometimes does take that experience of maybe doing a little bit yourself, or at least having better relations with those people. So
I definitely think that makes a lot of sense. I want to talk more about, we've kind of glossed over or kind of around it with what you do with Evolve PR and with PR in general, but I first got to comment something from our chat. One, thank you to Reaper for being around for the 25-hour stream. And also, thank you to the early viewer who just donated $25 to Extra Life for us on Brad's name.
Okay. Awesome.
Which the early viewer I'm gonna bet is also iReaper. is
AKA the late viewer.
The late viewer, the early viewer, the everything viewer. But yeah, as he's mentioning in here, like streaming is one of the hardest things, is just keeping a schedule if you're doing any kind of regularity. But, so okay, Bryden, tell me a little bit about Evolve PR and tell me about what you personally do.
Okay, so yeah, Evolve PR as a whole is a company that works with video games developers, publishers, and helps them, in pretty much any way, shape, or form launch their products. The origin of that, kind of the beginning of that, was that Tom used to work at EA, and he used to work that then kind of, because CD Projekt Red was kind of not, from what I understand, this is me retelling a story, if you will,
sure,
of things that I didn't do. But from what I understand, CD Projekt Red was in kind of a relationship with EA where they were helping them out a bit, trying to give them a chance to show off this game called The Witcher back in the day. And so yeah, that was something where he got involved with them, started doing PR with them, and started doing other projects as well. And I think Evolve kind of came out of that. And then as the company grew, and it's been, especially in the last 2 years or so, there's been a lot of growth. That's gone from just being that type of PR to trying to look at different ways of being involved in the industry, because a lot of what current PR can be, there's a lot of hoops, there's a lot of time spent on things that aren't actually creative, sending back and forth emails to make sure someone understands an embargo and the keys and everything like that. That takes a lot of time. And what kind of came of that, what kind of Tom started building up, was terminals, which, is something that was created as an idea to not only make that easier, to give, make my job less about the mundane and a little bit more about trying to find ways to promote games and be creative with that stuff. And also, because of our industry being such an open thing where there's, people that make written media, people that do YouTube content, videos, and do streams and stuff like that. A lot of these people aren't versed in the understanding of how to go about doing a lot of the things to get keys, or those relationships and stuff like that. So
I had to deal with a lot of that because I've been working with Evolve since well before terminals. I remember the days before very well.
And it's the thing, I used to do, like I said, I used to do YouTube content back in the day, and that was a thing that I didn't understand, and learning about who to contact, how to do that. That's stuff that no one tells you, and you have to figure it out for yourself. But
it's a magical thing. You're like, wait, people will actually give me their game if I ask them and play it?
Yeah, it's like, oh, wait, this is a thing? Or I used to do Let's Play stuff, but then I moved into more editorial review things, and then trying to target games and be like, would these devs give me a key? And trying to feel that process out, and it's a weird dance, right? And so I think with that, terminals is kind of created to make that easier. There are ways that keys are becoming more easily available, but trying to just make a bit of a community as well, and a bit of a group of media that can kind of just check in, see what games we're working on. Because as we continue to go, we've worked with a lot of really cool titles, and there's an expectation there that when you kind of either work with us or see the games that we work with, that there's if you pop back in on terminals, there'll be something new potentially that you might be interested in. And that's kind of been the evolution of that. But now in Evolve, we've gone from when I started working, it was I think like maybe four of us. I joined with Jessica and Brian Sharon, who now works at Xavient. We joined in. I think we were like the first like kind of extra group of hires after the initial. And that was kind of when Terminal started. And since then, we've gone from, I think that would have been 6 people to now 12 as a team. And we've been able to grow in like a lot of really awesome ways where I do PR. I'm on the PR end. And that ends up meaning that I work with a lot of developers and, helping them. It's very much what you'd expect a PR person to do. But we also have researchers on our team. Like Erica's more of community management and does video and streaming stuff. Like, trying to branch out and just not necessarily be a PR company and trying to, do more to be involved in the industry. So
yeah, you guys kind of in the last, Terminals was initially just, that what it came across as from my angle was it was just an easier way for me to request stuff, to get information to, instead of emailing at the time. I was, I think I was mostly, I think back then it was like Shannon and then Jesse as well. Instead of emailing them all the time and being like, hey, what's the embargo? I can't remember. I forgot to write something down, kind of stuff. It was, okay, all the information's right there. But then that kind of grew into almost this quasi social media platform of sorts. Is like, it's kind of sort of the direction it's gone. But then Evolve, I feel like, especially in the last month with, the new hires you mentioned, has kind of become almost its own entertainment thing, or at least that's what the Evolve show you guys do on Thursdays. It just feels like it's almost become like an entertainment education destination for people, because there are a lot. I think that's how I think from my perspective it's kind of come across, because there are a lot of people who started, I think, out like me, where it was just like, the only reason I'm affiliated at all with Evolve, with getting keys and things like that, is because I sent an email about the game The Long Dark about getting a key for it, because I think Mark Meir was in it or something like that. And I'm like, Commander Shepard's in it. I'm curious about this game. And I sent the email and actually clicked send by accident. And 12 hours later, I had an email from Tom, who, runs Evolve PR for doesn't know. It was just like, here's a key, here's some information. I was like, that was easy. Wait, what? Do you have lists? Are there lists? And he actually taught me how to work with PR people through email a little bit.
Wow, that's impressive.
Awesome.
He gave me little things, and I feel like that's kind of what Evolve does. If you watch any of the Twitter feeds, it feels like a lot of like, hey guys, this is what you need to do. This will help us and this will help you. So again, outside perspective, how I feel like things have gone.
Yeah. And, I mean, the media side of things is a hard thing, because, we started up, kind of looking at that and doing some, YouTube stuff and also doing some Twitch stream stuff. And there was kind of going for more of a traditional schedule thing, but, since then, Eric has kind of taken over and done the Evolve show now, which I have really enjoyed so far. And what we're trying to do with that is have conversations about the industry and have conversations with people that really do have something to say. I got to be on that actually last week and got to talk to Morig and Jack Lafier. And those are 2 guys that have been around on Twitch for a long time. And it was a really cool conversation, because we were talking about, my side of the fence and the relationship of like how it is when we work with those guys, and what they feel when they get to work with developers and stuff like that. And then the conversations of like, well, what's it like when a developer comes to me and has certain expectations, and then trying to level those expectations or explain, because again, we're talking about understanding, and it's easy to have an idea of like what Twitch is about, but then there's a deeper kind of thing where one of the main things we talked about was how selling your game or getting people interested in it is not necessarily about getting the like top 100 whatever Twitch streamer to play your game. It's about finding someone that has a really solid community that actually likes RPGs or something very niche and specific that you're doing, because they're the ones that are going to push your game, and their audience is like, if they see this person that they really like and they're part of that community and they're really enjoying it and they're playing the game, that's what's going to push that game forward into other people's streams, other people's videos, attention overall, potentially sales, not someone that is lightly interested that's just going to kind of gloss over the things that other people might potentially find really interesting about a game.
It's essentially just, I feel like it's marketing 101 that a lot of, I think finally the game marketing side things, the PR things are catching back up to after the burst of Twitch. It's like the basic thing of you have to market to your audience. You can't just, you can't just, again, just throw something against the wall or against on a giant billboard in the middle of this place and expect, 100,000 eyes are going to be on this, ergo we're going to get 100,000 sales. That's not how this works. And it's nice to see a lot of PR stuff like finally kind of catching up that you can't just, throw a game at PewDiePie, just naming one of the biggest people. I guaranteed expect it to work just because if he's bored out of his mind playing it because it's not his shtick, then everyone's gonna be bored.
Which I was about to say exactly on that. Like, not only, you say just personalities with your communities, but there's also personalities that get born because they just have that certain devotion or that certain interest in a particular game, and they dive deeper into it than anybody else would have because they were legitimately wanted to play that really bad, and that kind of just attracts people to them, which is something I felt Evolve has definitely helped out with as well. Yeah. Definitely for myself.
Well, I was going to say, you getting access to Dying Light is literally why your channel exists.
That's literally why we have iReaper in chat right now.
Yeah, pretty much, because Justin, for whatever reason on his personal thing, got a Dying Light early access, or not early access, preview code long before that game released, and back at the start of his personal side of things, and it worked out really well. We did a lot of good content for it, but what I was going to say... Wait, what was I going to say? Just lost my train of thought.
There it goes.
There it goes. There's the train. So, but like one of the things I appreciate as a viewer and also a content creator is when companies... that it's actually not necessarily their niche of a game, or it's not necessarily their style, but they get a game and they're the kind of people who play things in a really weird or unique way, I guess you could almost say. Achievement Hunter at Rooster Teeth is known for this, where they get Farming Simulator and never farm whatsoever, or, they get Battlefield 1 and create arguably the funniest video I've ever seen in my entire life of a jousting thing that has almost nothing to do with Battlefield 1. And just a lot of that kind of... that's the kind of content I personally appreciate on the market side. It's not just the people who it's their niche, but the people who will exploit a game to play almost something completely different. If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
It makes sense.
I haven't had the time or the focus to get into a game that badly lately. Except for The Witcher 3.
Yeah, well...
But I'm not going to talk about that.
It's not even like diving that hard into a game. It's just like that one person that thinks, let me try this out and see if it works, or just, this seems like a great idea, and it turns out to be extremely hilarious and entertaining.
So, Bryden, when you're looking to work with someone, whether they're the largest streamer, the small streamer, a large media site, a small media site, what, when you're going to promote a game, do you look for, typically?
So, this it's a benefit of the scenario that we're in now. We also, it can be a combined effort in a lot of ways, because we actually have a kind of a small research team that we work with as well internally. And a lot of times what we do is we kind of look at what the game is, look at a lot of things that we think are similar, a lot of things that we think are good, comparables and stuff like that, and then try and, my brain is this weird thing when it comes to now PR, because I've only been doing it, let's say, almost, I guess, like a year and a half or so with Evolve. But you just have this part of your brain that stores all this dumb information on, all these humans that you've met and things that they like and things. I don't know, if I go into some other thing in the future or whatever, I'll have, this just stored knowledge of hundreds of humans and things that, so-and-so likes these type of games or things like that. So that's always really helpful to remember the relationships that you build and what people are into. But then on a grander scale, we also look at people that within our team that we can kind of say, okay, this is someone that, let's say, coming up with the Dwarves is something that I'm working on. They're going to be releasing December 1st. And that's a game that kind of invokes, it's an RPG game, but also invokes like a 1 versus 100 fighting orcs fantasy style thing, which really feels like Lord of the Rings-esque to me, and that kind of that high fantasy type of thing that I know a lot of RPG people are really into, but then I have to kind of see if I can dive deeper than just being do you like RPGs? Because that could just be such a broad, open term to say, and trying to find, again, those people that maybe are a little bit more interested. And there can be so many variables too, like what time of year is it? Like because right now when we're talking about games on the PR side, it can be a really hard challenge to, I mean, it's hard on the other side too, because you have like a bazillion games coming out and all these AAA games too. And it's like, where do you focus your efforts? What's going to be the interest? And on our side of the fence, when it comes to a lot of that time, it's like, how do we show that this is something that's worth your time when there's Titanfall and Battlefield and, Call of Duty and whatever. There's like all these huge games that are coming out within a week of each other or something like that. So
yeah, I have that same feeling because people ask me a lot because I never shut up about games half the time, even to strangers. And they always ask me like, what's your favorite game or what do you play? And I'm always like, that's a loaded question. That is a very loaded question.
It is because, well, especially this time of year, it's like, okay, I made a plan of how I was going to play games, and I had everything in mind, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to play all these, and then again, working the press entertainer kind of side of things, I'm like, oh crap, I requested all these games of different things, and I'm the one, okay, nope, I can't play those anymore. So it's like the fall becomes this weird clusterfuck of a time, and it just with everything, again with the AAA games, the major, even minor indie games, and then the reviewables and the streamables and the let's playable kind of stuff. It's a never-ending avalanche of stuff, and it's just always fascinating, especially now being on the other side of things, not just being purely a viewer. It was hell, 5 years ago before Constantly Calibrating. It's been fascinating since.
It was a pain trying to schedule which games for Extra Life would be the most fun.
And I still don't think we hit a lot. I mean, we canceled, 5 or 6 games during the stream because we just realized stuff was just not going to work out.
Yeah.
Or we didn't have the right audience for things. It's just, that's always that's something I'm going to do differently next year.
It's a weird feeling. Like, I did 18 hours, like I said, and I made a list of games, and I'm like, I can't play all these. Like, I just, and I actually, like, blocked out time and was like, this is how it's going to go. I knew it wasn't going to play out that way, but I wanted to at least kind of like put some things in spots. We had devs coming to at certain points, so I wanted to make sure that like those were rock solid times that were like making sure that we're going to do that. But the thing I kind of learned was that like, you don't, especially when you're doing that type of thing, you want to find the games that are really enjoyable to watch. And like, it's good to switch things up, but it's also good to kind of stick with some things for a while too. It's a balance of that, right? Yeah. Where that was the weakest point that I had in our stream was when I was starving. Everybody else was trying to order food, and I was just like, well, I gotta stay here and keep the stream going. And I lost the track of what I was gonna do. So I was like, I'm gonna play. Actually, I played Thumper, and I played Thumper for over an hour. And I was almost crying because I was hysterical because that game is so intense. And like, I was also sitting weird because my coworker Jessica was right here, and I had to like lean like this. So my chest was hurting afterwards because like when you're on a bus or something, you have to kind of like twist your body in a weird way to like stand. So I was doing that while playing Thumper, and I wasn't relaxed. Like my whole body was rigid because I was playing this. And I don't know if any of you guys played Thumper.
Seen it, haven't played it.
Yes,
I have not.
Okay, well, I said on stream, it was like a come to Jesus moment with this game where I'm like, okay, I get it. This is so cool. Like, I knew it looked really nice, but like, I was just like the rhythm of it and how intense it was. But yeah, my body was like twisted, and then I was also like straining up. So when I finished that, I like was like, wait, why is my chest and my legs sore? Like, I was completely fine before that, and I'm like, what's going on? So I was like, okay, what's the opposite of Thumper? Okay, I'll play some Journey for a bit. Like, that's gonna like calm me right down.
Yeah, okay.
But then I realized I'm playing Journey, and it's like like I went from playing Thumper and looking like I was a crazy person to like going, Journey, this is nice, calm, and easy. And like our viewer count starts sliding, and I'm like, oh no, I gotta change the game. But before then, it was just like, I started off with Owlboy in the morning and played that for like 2.5 hours, and just kind of tried to not just go, okay, done the hour, gonna move on. It was just more like when we had the Hyperlight Drifter guys on while I was playing that. I think we were supposed to only go for an hour, but went like almost nearly 2 hours, probably like 90 minutes or something like that. And like it just, naturally going with the flow, right? It's a tough thing to fall on because you're like, you want to plan things out, you want to have good games to play, but you need to recognize when things are going good and like roll with that, or go like, this is an abort situation, like, you know, this is not going well. So
that's part's like terribly part. Like I can imagine for PR, but for streaming as well, like you're engaging an audience, but you don't have that instant reaction. Some people respond to you, but most of the part, they're kind of just watching and leave or don't talk to you, which is kind of the opposite of retail. Retail, I can sell anything. I see somebody walk in with a Batman shirt or a type of shirt I can relate to. I can mention a ton of games they're interested in and get that instant feedback and instantly find something they're interested into and keep their attention. So I myself am trying to figure out how to transition that into Twitch and just relating to people in general.
Well, that's just, I think, one of the hardest things is getting people to actually speak up and say something is one of the most difficult aspects of this. But what I was going to say on game choice and stuff like that for Extra Life, it's a fascinating thing because, like, I threw Don't Starve Together at our midnight slot because I'm like, an hour of that sounds great. That's a perfect spooky kind of game, right? And then we're hitting about the end of our first D&D thing we did around, I don't know, 8-ish or something like that. And I kept looking at that slot and I'm like, wait, have any of us actually played this game? And the answer was pretty much no. Do any of us really want to play this game? And there was some interest, but it was just kind of one of those things like, okay, this is wrong for us. We're not playing the right thing. We also made a mistake. We took a sponsorship from a card game that was just after like looking through it and starting to set up like, this is not appropriate for us or our viewers. But it's those learning.
Some things we can't do on Twitch.
But it's one of those learning experiences that I think a lot of streamers have to go through when you're getting into this kind of thing of how to properly do stuff and what's appropriate for you. Again, it's the same thing you're talking about marketing to people. A lot of us, when we start out streaming Let's Plays, reviews, whatever, we jump at every opportunity and actually almost burn bridges because one, you can't keep up with what's coming in, and two, you know, I love RPGs and I start requesting a bunch of real time, RTS stuff, and it's like, well, I don't really like RTS stuff. Why am I playing this? Makes no sense. Just because it's the hot game? No.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing. This kind of calling back to just that, I think this is the thing that anybody that's in media has to deal with, is that balance of like trying to, obviously you want to push forward what you're doing, and especially when I think Twitch can be a little bit different because it's more about, if you're doing variety, maybe you're doing newer variety games and you're kind of rolling through that. But a lot of those guys have staples and a lot of those guys are very personality based. So it can be a little bit hold back from like sometimes what YouTube can be really about. Like YouTube's still personality, but like written media and YouTube can be a lot more about like what's hot. Like I was doing editorial and review stuff and it was always like, we want to post this video review at embargo because that's like if we want to hit this, right? Or this game's coming out and we know that no one's got review keys, we're going to buy it like the second it comes out and try and get through it or something like that. But then you have that balance of trying to figure out like, well, is this something that I actually really like? Is it something that I, because you are showing, like your audience is going to be in some way connected to what your interests are too, because they're watching what you do. And in turn, you also want to be showing them stuff that you're interested in because in very, a lot of ways they're going to be interested in as well. And it's that same thing, Morag, when I was having this similar kind of conversation about Twitch and stuff, he said, like it's kind of the equivalent of someone that is into RPGs reviewing a sports game or something like that. Like the conversation that you're going to have about that game is not going to connect necessarily with those people that are really into sports, like if you're really into FIFA or whatever, because that's going to be a case that your interests and your expertise are not going to fit into, like maybe if you like sports, let's say you're not into it at all, you're probably not going to enjoy the game, one, because it's not for, not for your interests. But two, you're not going to really be able to dissect and talk about the things that are really important to what that person might be interested in finding out about that review or whatever. So it's kind of a thing where I think that's like a very extreme case, right? But there's still cases where on the media side, you have to make decisions about games and cases where you might be covering something that might not fit your interests or expertise. And you're like, well, maybe this gets me more views or more hit or whatever. It's, pushing you forward. But is it what you want your audience to be? And is it something that is valuable to the people that are already there? So,
well, I think you just answered. We got asked a question in chat by Frankie Tanky 9. I think you more or less actually just answered at the end there, which is, where is it? As streamers, do you ever have to fight the pressure to play and stream high viewership games? How do you deal with seeing some games with tons of viewers and also always wondering chat's just going a little too quick with me. And always wondering if you should be playing those games. And that's actually something we have always kind of struggled with, and I think a lot of streamers struggle with, where we were obsessively playing every hot game that came out and making good videos, and then acceptable videos. This is pre-streaming, and then okay videos, and then it just was like the shittiest videos we were producing, where like I would spend hours editing these videos that would never hit YouTube because I'm like, this is not good. Like we're just churning out videos based on games because everyone else is doing them, or they're the most popular things, and they're not.
We were forced at the time.
Yeah, and it's just not our demographic, or it's not something that we're having fun with. Like once you enter the point, like, okay, so part of streaming, part of Let's Plays, part of all these things is you're taking your base personality and turning yourself up to 11. I mean that's kind of, I think most people understand that at this point. But when you have to legitimately fake enthusiasm because like, oh, look at that funny thing, that's when you know you're playing the wrong thing. And I would rather, our schedule is still not really settled, but I would rather miss a night of a schedule than play something we have no right playing. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, if you're playing something you don't enjoy, it's really hard to get the audience amped up with you if you're not there.
Yeah.
Like, when Final Fantasy comes out, I could play that shit for days and hopefully keep people entertained, because I'm going to love that game.
Mm-hmm.
But...
Well, you're just going to be... Because that's the thing, is you're going to be continuously in the moment of it.
Yeah.
They can always tell when you're faking.
Yeah.
No, I mean, most viewers, I think, can. It's not that hard to tell when somebody is really not enjoying something and when they're just building it up.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, it's hard to find a happy medium, because maybe there's like this really not well-known indie game that you love, but not a lot of people do. And so you have to pick something that's a little bit more popular, but then you've got the games that you don't like, and, well, yeah.
Well, you just have to figure out what your niche is what I ultimately feel like.
And if something really popular comes out, just pick the right person for the job if you got multiple guys.
And that's one of the ways we luck out Constantly Calibrating, is that I'm huge into RPGs and a lot of like random adventure games and that kind of indie stuff, while Justin will likely go for more first-person shootery kind of things or Dark Souls style stuff, and actually same with Thad. And then Brad will actually lean a lot towards the MMOs. Like we have enough people that can stream potential stuff.
Yeah, it's nice for me because I play everything.
Yeah, well, I was saying, which is why Evolve PR gets a lot of random games that I'm watching on there, because I'm the one handling it for everyone. At this point, we probably should just get everyone on the team on terminals and just let them
oh, wow.
And let and work to understand what things are. Which, speaking of which, having people on terminals and back to the PR side of things, have there been, like, what for you as someone who works in this field is one of the more frustrating things you have to deal with, would you say, Bryden?
I mean, this is a thing that people do in life, but people don't read. So,
oh boy,
when you're in the PR side and you're trying to communicate information, that can sometimes be frustrating. And that can mean a lot of things. But when we try and bold and put at the top the most important information so that you can see it. But sometimes that stuff can be missed. And honestly, people are usually really good about embargoes and things like that. But it can be. Communication can probably be the most challenging part about the job sometimes, and that's just a very broad thing because it can mean a lot of different things. But it really does come down to, sometimes people not understanding certain specific things we want to, try and communicate about a game, or there can be cases where on my end I want to. The thing that I always try and push us forward, try and do as much as we can, is communicate with the people that are using terminals, because there's a lot of people that are, and we also work on a lot of games, and there's a lot of cases where I want to make sure that if someone is not getting a key, that they at least kind of know what's going on and why they might not have gotten it. There are cases, unfortunately for us, where we work with certain publishers or developers where we're a hand of their PR, or we're not the full picture of what's going on, because we do, let's say, North America and South America. That's kind of our bread and butter. We have a lot of amazing contacts across in Europe as well and stuff, but there's also European-based PR companies as well. So sometimes we have cases like that, and it's hard to kind of potentially turn somebody away that is someone that I normally work with quite a bit and say, this just can't do it for this game because we're handling this alone or something like that. So sometimes that can be hard because, you got to make sure that people understand what's going on, that it's not about, if it is about them, if there's an issue there, reason why we're not giving them a key, they understand that. And if it isn't about them and it's not, that stuff can all get mixed up sometimes. Like if I'm not approving somebody for a North America, South America key, and that might happen 2 times in a row, they might start getting confused that maybe we are only doing North America and South America keys or something like that. So that's, it's not like the perfect specific thing, but it just comes down to communication and always trying to make sure that people understand when it can be easily parsed the wrong way. And sometimes when you work with people that speak a dozen different languages and stuff like that, that also makes it challenging, because English is a universal language for video games in a lot of ways, but that doesn't mean that it's the first language for a lot of people as well. So, and that's never something that I hold against people, because I live in Montreal, Quebec, and I originally was from the West Coast, and so my French is middling at best, not great, but I live in a city where people speak it fluently. Mm-hmm. We're bilingual here and even leaning more French than English. So it's something that in a lot of ways has actually been helpful, because then, when you're the person that's trying to poorly, clobber together words like a caveman to somebody else, you understand when someone else is coming to you with an email that might not be the most properly structured thing in the world or something like that, because it goes both ways, and there's people all over the place that just want to cover games and stuff like that. So, yeah. But, it definitely, I would say, as a whole, communication is the job, but it also can be one of the most challenging parts of it as well. So,
yeah, I mean, you have to be diplomatic at all times for a multitude of reasons. Like, one of my things with working with PR in the early days of my actually starting to do that, what was a difficult aspect for me to understand was, one, that it's okay to request stuff, on my end. That was a very difficult thing to get through my head, that it's not a negative if I'm told no. There's many reasons. And then also not being offended when I am told no, which that didn't take me too long to get my head wrapped around. But there was this issue, like, a while back where I got turned down for a game and I almost didn't. And I don't even think it was with Evolve PR. I think it was a different company. And I almost didn't ever email them again, because I was like, they turned me down. They don't like me. They hate me. I suck. My website sucks. It's garbage. Just like that depression kind of thing, that false, paranoia thing. And
you don't see the highbrow one? Like, well, they don't deserve me.
Yeah, we know me. I've never gotten haughty over anything. No, sir. No, sir. But it's just always one of those things. And then, it's always another one is when, you make content for a game, and then a sequel comes along for the game, and you request the key, and you get turned down for the sequel's key, and you're like, shit. Was that not a good video? And to be honest, that happened with Farming Simulator, where I requested keys for it, and I went, and it got turned down, and, I went back and, looked at the previous stuff, I'm like, I thought this was good, and I looked back, I'm like, and then I went to, again, that whole, cycle, and I'm like, you know what? Not enough keys, not a big deal. Nothing to worry about.
And that's the thing, right? And I'll say this honestly to you, that there's the cases that usually happen. I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak from my own experience, is that the scenarios that play out for us in regards to what we have available can be vastly different depending on the game, depending on the developer, depending on the situation. So I would consider the relationship that we have with you guys and the content you create to be really well, because you guys, there's a lot of people that even get keys and don't cover stuff, but you guys, one, do cover the games that we work with, and also do a really good job of it too. So it's never really something where that's a case, but there can be, I guess the best word is that there's, with certain developers and certain publishers, there's certain expectations of what they want and also how many keys they're giving. And that can mean anything from a developer that's like, here, have all the keys in the world. Mm-hmm. Let's get this out to as many people as possible. We just want the game to be out there so people to see it. And there's other people that can be very much like, we have this finite amount, and this is what we want. These are the specific people that we want you to have to do this. So, we do make a lot of judgment calls ourselves, but then there's a lot of cases that it's not necessarily, I would say, out of our hands. We're still, handing them out and stuff like that. But it's not a case where we're giving all the keys to people that we want to. It's more like we have to say, there's a lot of, we're talking about negatives. There can be a lot of no's sometimes that you don't want to give out either, because it's just the circumstance of what the game is. And so I guess I would say in in a positive manner, and this goes to you guys, but it goes to anybody out there, that I think that when it comes to recurring content or someone that's new, like you're talking about a sequel or something like that, I rarely would say it's a case where I think that someone's like, unless you did a scathing, like, this game sucks, like, that could be something where you might be making someone feel a little bit, depending on the developer or publisher, they might be rubbed very much the wrong way by someone like that. But, usually if it's positive and it's done well, it's a case where that doesn't really play a huge part in regards to the response of something coming in the future. I found that I've also, like I said, done the review side of things too, and I have the same kind of emotional roller coasters of like, wow, today was a great day. These games that I wanted to cover got the keys to review them, and then there'd be like another period where I'm like, well, maybe I'm gonna up the ante a little bit. I'm gonna ask for these couple games or whatever in May or something like that, and then like no responses, and I'm like, well. So I guess I've gone from here to like down to here or something like that.
It's amazing how it works, and I think that's that's also part of the creative mind's mentality. Is it's just very high highs and very low lows, and it's very easy to put yourself in either of those sides at a moment's notice.
Gotcha.
But
okay. I mean, that does sound like an important thing to go off of. It's just business. Like you were saying, like you don't see one of the companies like, these guys requested a key, but to hell with those guys. I don't like Josh's face. You get out of here. Whatever.
I get that.
It's all business. Like we have like 3 keys, and we've got 5 guys who want them.
Which ones are going to make the most use of it?
Yeah, like this person will probably get like 5,000 views, and this one will get like 10. Probably going to give it to the other guys. Nothing personal. It's just we need publicity, and they're the ones that are going to get it.
Yeah, it's like, because you're not just doing the streamers a service or yourself a service, you're also doing the publishers or developers a service too. You have to keep them in mind.
Yeah, and as much as people can like they can work for a game company, and it's like, oh man, this is what they want to do, this is what they love doing, but they need to make money. They can't just be like, no, let's give it to the guy who does 10 because I like him. The end goal is for the game is to make money. Like I love The Witcher, and they love their game, and they made it because they love it. But they're also hoping to make money off of it, so they have to give it to the people who will get the most publicity done.
Yeah, ultimately that's a huge part of it. I mean, I'm gonna not name names. I've worked with developers who literally just throw every key imaginable at you, and you're just sitting there like, do you want to make money? You just gave me like 100 keys for this game, and I legit, it's an enjoyable. What am I supposed to do with this? How are you making money off this game?
I don't know 100 people. Where do you want these to go?
Yeah, it's the thing is like giveaways are possible at one point, but like it reaches a certain point where it's just like there is a massive oversaturation of things.
I struggled solo to give away 15, 20 keys earlier this year when Black Desert came out. 100 keys? How? Like for
Brad, I'm again not naming names. I refuse to.
No. But
I'm still sitting on 45 keys for the game I'm referencing. Justin knows what I'm talking about.
Granted, we're small media. I still consider us small.
We are,
but like 100 keys. That seems like a lot for maybe even somebody as big as IGN, depending on the title.
Well, that's why like PC Gamer will post sometimes. We have 10,000 keys for X game, and it's just like. Oh, and then like, well, how are you giving away? Well, literally, you just put your name here, and we send you a key if you're the first 10,000 people, kind of thing. And it's just like, holy crap!
And those go. Yeah. It's surprising. Like I've worked with PC Gamer and done one of those scenarios before, or have been involved with a couple of those cases, and it's you try to make a number up, and it's like, there's an estimation on both sides, and then it's like, these went away in 24 hours. There's 10,000 keys gone or whatever. And so it can be, it's all about platform, all about, like, that's also people clicking a button to get a key. There's no barrier there. There's no, like, raffle giveaway or anything like that. But yeah, it's interesting, it's funny to see, because I see it on the dev side, working with them. Extra Life was an example of that as well, where it's interesting because we were reaching out to some other developers, being like, hey, your game came out in 2016. It's a game that we'd love to play on the stream, and we'd also love to have you in chat, and we'd also love to do a giveaway key. Here's 3 things that we'd like. You can do none of them, or 1 of them, or 2 of them, or 3 of them, or something like that. Yep. And a lot of cases people were really, really supportive, and that was amazing. But it's up to them and up to the cases. And I had, again, from the experience of doing this, I had one developer that I just kind of threw it out there, or one publisher was kind of like, hey, you guys released a couple games this fall, and they're awesome, and if you can do anything for us, that would be awesome. And I sent over like 5 keys for a full retail price game, and I was like, this is more than I can handle. Like, this is not, like, thank you, this is amazing. Like, we're able to give those away and incentivize people on the stream to do that. But it was also a case that, I didn't expect that. And it's interesting when you get those different scenarios, because it really is about the value of those and the perspectives, because there's so many different perspectives in the industry, right? There's the case where you have, especially if you have a multiplayer game, you just want to get that out to as many people as possible, because you want to circulate keys so people are playing on the servers, so that there's like concurrent players and stuff like that, and that's really important. So I see a lot of cases in those type of scenarios where it's like, no, we want to get stuff out. We want any media to play it because we want to talk about it, have people talking about it as much. But like a single player game, it can be very much the opposite, where it's like, we just want these specific people to talk about because we want to really curate the voice of what's being said, and then we'll leave it up to the consumer to kind of make the decision on that, and then success or failure. But it's also that value, right? It's a $40 key or something like that. That is technically money. Like, you're generating things and giving them away, but that could potentially be a sale if you want to look at it that way as well. Or, you want to look at it too, and you're giving it to a media person that might turn into 5 sales, So if you're giving away 1 key, then that might be worth it for you. So
it's just, you got to figure all that out. I think a huge issue for a lot of people new to this whole streaming Let's Play kind of stuff is understanding that, like, just because you didn't get a key because you're not gonna justify you didn't get a key for the Witcher 3, one of the most anticipated games, or you didn't get a key for this most anticipated game. Well, there's a reason why, probably, and the reason why is that is a full retail priced game. You really want to make content for that and prove yourself, buy the game, make the content, show the company that you can make content with it, and then you move forward with future stuff with them. Has always been my mentality. There's too many people who get pissy and they're just like, oh, you didn't give me this key? Well, fuck you, kind of thing.
Yeah, like you can't be some nobody and walk up to the CD Projekt Red and be like, hey, can I get a Witcher 3 key? I'll make a video of it or something, and they'll just give it to you. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's a case where it's something where even on the PR side and handling some of that stuff, sometimes I do feel a sense of a little bit more of like, I want to make sure that if I'm giving out this game that is $60 or something like that, it's like the responsibility is on my end too, because I don't want to just be willy-nilly giving that out. I'm looking at that person a little bit more to be like, is this a good fit? Is this, because again, they are giving us keys and they want us to distribute it, but there's a sense where it's kind of like you're running on like slippery floor of like an expensive bottle of like brandy or something like that. You're like, I don't want to drop this, and like I've been entrusted to carry this from one point to the other, so that hopefully, it's not a case of I don't know. It's something that you just want to be a little bit more sure about. Whereas maybe it's a game, like I said, get 1,000 keys for a game that's a $5 game, then you feel a little bit more easier about just being like, well, that person didn't cover it. We really did want them to cover it, but it's not like they didn't cover this full retail price game or something like that. So
right. They didn't just shirk their responsibilities.
Yeah.
Well, I was supposed to say with that, like, have you ever like looked at somebody kind of saw their effort, gave them like a second chance on a bigger title? Because like you said with that, that kind of goes on the streamer side too, especially to myself, because I have like a 40+ hour job that I have to do to live. Yeah. And I try to do the streaming, YouTube stuff when I can. And sometimes I get these keys. I'm like, God, I want to do so much content with this. And then I just can't. When it hits the night, I'm either too tired and I'll be doing more damage than good. And sadly, sometimes it just ends up I can't do anything with it when it'd be a good time to do something with it.
So I kind of like half caught the beginning of that. What were you saying exactly?
That's okay. This is Justin speaking to you, and that's normally how I talk to people, and that's usually the response. And basically, like, have you ever like seen somebody that you immediately had like kind of like a negative reaction to due to the first impression, but kind of gave them a second chance?
Yeah, no, I think that's something that we have happen quite a bit because, you know, especially as people grow too. You can have we have a lot of relationships with people potentially that start smaller and they continue to make content. Like I've been doing this now for, like I said, a year and a half, and I've been working with some people for that full year and a half in regards to the media side, and you see that difference and you see the change. The stuff that can rub you the wrong way though is when like you have written media or something like that, and there's like plagiarism of other reviews and things and stuff like that. Like those are the ones that are harder to walk. Like especially, there's been a couple cases that I've seen through us where we've had two different sites that we work with, and one is pulling stuff from the other site that we also work with, and especially when it's a case where you know where that those people and stuff like that, it's like that can be a tough thing because it's you know, that's not saying that person necessarily did that for everything that they've ever written or anything like that. This might be the first case ever, or it could have been the 5th case or whatever. You don't know. But when you find out and you call them out on that, it's a tough thing to kind of go from that point. We still try in some of those cases to say, okay, what are you going to do now? Like, what's the next step for you? Because we've had this conversation, and that, you know, it's our place too in those cases when we do find that out to have that conversation, because that's something that's, you know, especially because we have relationships with a lot of people in the media, especially when it's someone that's being plagiarized that you know that it's their work that they just wrote or something like that. Like it's that type of stuff can be a little bit harder. But yeah, in other cases when it's more just like quality level or something, or maybe they got a key and they didn't do anything for a month or something like that or whatever. Like there can be cases like that, and you might be like, hey, it was still good content or whatever, or you know, you still made something that I thought was really enjoyable. Like if you said that you're gonna do a review around launch and it took you till a month and a half later, that, you know, means that it was less valuable per se to the kind of story of like what that game's about when people were trying to find out about it. But you know, that's people, you know, have things going on in their lives and they're learning about, you know, like I said, a lot of people are learning about what they're doing, and like I'm learning about what I'm doing every day. There's still cases that I have new scenarios and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, there we go. This is a new experience. And I think that's part of like understanding that that's just the thing that people have, you know, in their lives as well. I think that's, if you're doing something and you're not having those cases, then that's probably a sign that you're not pushing yourself to like do something that's outside of your safety zone, you know? So.
Definitely, and I think you know, you just mentioned, you know, people who don't get stuff out at launch and late. And I just look at my desktop and I'm like, there's 3 games I really need to finish. Like I got halfway through each one, got halfway through each review, halfway through each content thing. I'm like, need to do something.
Especially those ones are like, hey, the embargo comes up in a week. I really should have something the day it comes out.
Actually, yeah, you and I need to discuss an embargo, actually, Justin.
Yeah, but along with that too, like noticing people who are making content, how do you notice, especially those on the smaller side, streamers versus somebody that puts something that's more permanent, like a YouTube video, or more noticeable, something that is in a moment but can go away, to something that they could post and it'll just be there.
So like the value of one versus the other?
Yeah. Or how does one get noticed versus the other?
Yeah, I mean, this can be, because a lot of times the conversation can be on 2 different levels here. Like there's the value that I see, or the value that my coworkers see, and I would be honest in saying that I think that the people that I work with, even the people that are on my team, because internally we have 2 different teams that do PR, and so my coworkers Jesse and Haley are on my team, and we work together on projects. We don't always work together on all the same projects, but we're, you know, very familiar with the things that we work on. And then Jessica, Brian, and Victoria are on the other side. And these names might just be random names, but for you guys as a understanding of that, that's something that
I know everyone's name.
Yeah, well, Joshua, this is for you. Then you can take that. But it's something where like I know for a fact that between even the people that I work with, like Jesse, I work with a lot, and I know that we have certain values on certain people that probably are different just based on their circumstances and based on the relationships that we built over certain games and stuff like that. So that can be something when it comes to like a YouTube video or a stream or something like that, where based on that stuff, I might have a certain, like, I know that person's really good at making stuff that I really think is enjoyable and their audience or their community is really into it, then that can be really positive for me no matter what. But then there can be developers and publishers too that put certain weight on certain things that that are not connected to what I have personally feelings towards, and that's fine. You know, it's a case where we also try and look at games too and say what's the best way to get this game out to people. You know, like if it's a game that's really fun to watch and it's a multiplayer game, then, you know, Twitch can be a scenario where that's a really good fit versus like having a preview on, let's say, PC Gamer or something like that. You know, like the value of having a bigger streamer play your multiplayer game and having the community involved versus like getting a preview out for something like that on like a bigger web news site could be very different based on the type of game or something like that. So it kind of comes down to that too for YouTube and Twitch. And I think the thing is that for me, I really do appreciate Twitch and I really do appreciate the streams that people make. Sometimes it isn't for everybody though, in regards to, like, I think that there is a sense of permanent media being more important to certain people because it's something that you can go back on, right? We did an 18-hour stream. That replay is going to go away at some point. You know, if I kind of was joking, and I think I'm actually going to do it. I think I'm going to download it, and I'm going to stop on certain screen caps and take dumb photos of my coworkers and make little GIFs of things and stuff like that. Because I'm like, this will be fun. And I want to keep that too. Yeah. I posted a picture of me eating a burrito on my Twitter today because I was like, this is dumb. But
not even gonna lie, that almost made it as the image that I use for promoting this because I enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah, no, anything I put on the internet is liable. You know, go for it. I post bad. I feel like it's self-deprecating, but in a good way. I just like, here we go, and they usually work out well. There's like a picture. This is completely not on topic, but I think I was really tired about some point. I was like fell asleep on my couch. My roommate took a picture of me like straddling the side of the couch because I just like fell asleep that way. I was like, this is a very like self-deprecating bad picture of me, but I'm just going to post it on the internet because like that's probably going to be a positive thing people are going to like. And there you go, same thing, burrito picture, big hit. But
it's how it works, man.
Yeah, but on the story, the wrap around though, on the YouTube and Twitch stuff, it depends on the developer. It depends on the developer and depends on the Twitch streamer or YouTuber as well that they're focusing on, and so it can be really back and forth based on that. But for me, it doesn't have to be permanent if that is a really awesome experience, right? And like if you're showing a game and the audience is really into it and it was, that stream went really well. It was like a 3-hour stream that people really enjoyed that. Like that can have a really huge impact. And that goes back to the whole conversation, I think, like at the very beginning we had where like you could have a YouTuber that has like 4 million subscribers and their audience just might not, like you might have a video that gets 1.5 million views, but it only sold like maybe 2 copies of the game or something like that. Whereas like you could have a video that has 1,000 views that sold 5 copies, Yep. And that's breaking down numbers in a way that's very much like marketing and PR stuff. But that's a lot of times what developers do look at is like, they want exposure, and exposure is super important, but what type of exposure are they getting? And is it to the audience that they really want? So I think there is a bit of a sense out there that when it's a stream, that like it goes away. And so our job a lot of times is to make sure that we screen cap that, or like make sure that we're like, hey, look at this thing that happened last night or whatever that, so it's not like we're just being like, this happened, and they're like, but where is it? And I'm like, well, it went away, but it was great when it happened yesterday.
I think Twitch is learning that, which is why, the Twitch clipping system, which iReaper, who is in the chat, loves using, is here. And I think that's also why they're now allowing you to straight up upload videos for their video on demand thing. I think they've kind of realized that, we are the transient kind of media, but we do still need to have a firm foothold to be truly competitive. I think it works best. But okay, so we've gone on for a little while. A last question for you. Do you have any either games or campaigns or anything you've worked on that, like a true highlight or a true, like, really awesome experience that you would want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I work on a lot of stuff, so it's kind of there can be like a lot of, I wouldn't say highs and lows, but there can be a lot of really cool experiences.
Loaded question.
Yeah, a little bit.
For me, I mean, I'll say one of my favorite ones was I got to work on Homeworld Deserts of Carrick last year, and that was like around this time last year. I think I started working on it, and that was a really cool experience for me because I started working at Evolve back in May of 2015, and that was probably the first game that I worked on where I was like, I really liked Homeworld, and I was working on this new Homeworld game, and it was a big release, and Tom was a part of it and helping out, but I kind of got to lead on that one, and that was terrifying, absolutely terrifying, because it's like that they're giving you the keys and you're like, I don't know what, but I got to work on it with my coworker Victoria, and it was a really cool experience because when you get to work on type of games like that, and especially with like a publisher like Gearbox in this case, like they're also a developer too, but in this case they're working with Blackbird Interactive, and it was just a really neat experience to be like, working on a game with a huge team and a huge company that I have a lot of respect for. And that was kind of an initial, I would say an initial experience, because I got to work on The Witcher a bit. But whenever you work on stuff like that, especially when you're new, it's very much you're doing a lot of the legwork and not necessarily that type of stuff. And since then, I think actually, you know what? I came to my favorite thing I got to do. I really enjoyed that, but bucket list for my life was definitely going to E3. I got to go to E3 this year, and
that's pretty awesome.
I think most people I can imagine that's
like gaming and media mecca right there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It was something for me where it was like, I kind of felt like if I got to talk to my like 12-year-old self or someone like that and be like, hey, you're gonna get to do this at this point, it would be like, no way, like that's so cool, like good job, keep doing what you're doing, or something like that. And so yeah, I got to work with I work with THQ Nordic on everything that they do, and on the North American side, and so that was really neat because I got to go to E3 and help them out, and they were showing off Elex, Battle Chasers, Spellforce 3, and the Guild 3, and that was a crazy experience as well in regards to the PR side, because making sure that there's a lot of appointment stuff going on, a lot of things happen, especially when you're working with 4 games and kind of just trying to make sure that everybody's all good. But yeah, it was a really neat experience to actually be there, walk through convention halls, and be like, I've seen these on videos for like years and years of my life, and now I'm actually like walking through that. So that was pretty cool, and I get so much enjoyment out of going to conventions and talking to people and showing off games and stuff like that. So anytime I get to go to PAX, anytime I get to go to any of the types of conventions and stuff, that's always a really cool experience too. So
I think convention stuff, expo stuff is always the highlight. I think at least on my end, it's my favorite thing. I love getting to cover specific games, but there are a few things more enjoyable on this end than getting to talk to a developer, to a PR person, to someone associated with gaming, and just getting to shoot the shit and just hear some stories off the record. Like I love that kind of stuff.
Or even that, I mean, you're just in an enclosed space with a bunch of like-minded people. It's just great on its own.
That has its perks and its negativity as well.
The one thing too that's really nice is that we all feel this probably, but there's a lot, especially on my side, I send a lot of emails to a lot of people, or have a lot of conversations that don't have a face to a name, or they do have a face, but it's like an avatar image or something like that, And when you get to go to a convention and you're like, I've sent you over 100 emails, and we're finally like, you have this sort of weird relationship where you kind of know who they are a little bit, and then you finally meet them, or you talk on Twitter a lot or something like that, and you're like, hey, you're that person that we've chatted for a year or something like that, and now you get to have that. And it's like you said, it's Justin, it's like you're going to a like-minded place, but you're also getting to meet people that are part of this industry, and this industry is there can be some negative stuff for it, but I think a lot of people in it are pretty cool. So that's always an awesome experience to get to meet those people too. So
I think putting face to voice to all that stuff is a great thing. Just with Evolve, just meeting Jesse, who I'd been working with for like 2 years or something, that was a weird moment for me because I just walk in. He's seen hundreds of pictures of my kid. We've discussed my kid. We've discussed his getting married. Like we would discuss all these things online, and then I go meet him in person. I'm like, you are fucking taller than I expected. Was like the first thing I said, because it throws you completely off when you actually meet people. And again, that's I think one of the coolest things. So let's tie this up. We're going to do our outro, but first, where can people find you? Where can people find Evolve? Anything you wish to plug, shout out, what have you? Anything you're promoting as well?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing is, mainly through Evolve. I guess the main thing is you can see it on the screen there. My Twitter is Bryden Keks. If you want to follow me, it's a good way to just see what type of stuff I'm working on, and also all the dumb other things that I post throughout the day. But yeah, too, if you are in the industry and you want to talk about potentially covering games and stuff like that, even if you're at a point that you're not, you're kind of getting into it. Like we try and be as open and as inclusive as possible. And Terminals is kind of the place that we put all our games that we work with up and try and communicate as much information about it. And as you're kind of saying, Josh, like more and more so now, we're trying to post all the news that we have as well there, trying to make sure that it's not only just about getting games. When we started, it was about the game was going to be there. Then we wanted to make sure that the press kit, or at least the assets, were there. And then we wanted to start adding the news and things like that. And we're just trying to continue to add more so that if you're trying to find stuff about a certain game that we work with, that's a really good spot to get it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been fun to chat about stuff.
Oh, it's been great. I've had a great time. It's been nice to just kind of have a laid back conversation. I've wanted to talk to somebody in the PR side, whether it was gaming, whether it was film, regardless. I've wanted to talk to somebody. This is like one of the fields that I now, at 31 years old, long past, should have started my career. I look back, I'm like, I really should have gone into this field, because like talking to people and seeing what you guys do, I'm like, I would be good at this. But it's just one of those things you realize past the point, you know what I mean? Well, not past the point, but at that weird thing. So I've just I wanted to talk to somebody in this. So when you messaged me, I'm like, yes, come on, please, when?
It was a funny thing for me because like I said, I moved to Montreal earlier this year, and I used to have all my stuff set up. Everything was all good, and when I moved, I left my microphone, like my recording microphone, behind, and it's like, I'll just use my webcam. That's good enough for now. And I was going to buy a microphone, but I just rode that wave for way too many months. Like, I was just like, this is doing business calls and stuff. I don't need that good quality. And it was like, finally, with Extra Life and then the Evolve show and stuff like that, where I was going to start doing guesting stuff on that, I was like, it's okay, it's time to bite the bullet. So back in that, but it's an opportunity to do some podcasting stuff. So I just wanted to reach out and have a conversation because I'm happy to do it. So
hey, we enjoyed it. I had a great time.
Nice having you here, man.
Yeah, and Dick, especially thank you for you and Evolve in general. Like, people, small streamers, hit them up. They could give you a chance you didn't know exists yet, or they'll help you out when you think people won't, and definitely give you that. They can give you that kickstart to help you get going.
It definitely. It's been great on our end working with Evolve and a few other places as well. It's given us nice little nudges, so it's a good relationship. But okay, Brad. I've been kind of taking over, so you want me to just continue with the outro?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm checked out.
Brad's a little tired.
I got a plate of bacon in front of me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that explains everything.
I'm so hungry. I haven't had dinner yet. I didn't get to eat. Okay.
Had me a nice big burrito.
Oh, shut up, food people. We still got to do after stream when Bryden. I got to talk. I got to answer a question in chat still once we're done with this. So, okay. That being said, hello everyone. You can find Constantly Calibrating at constantcalibrating.com. You can find us on Twitter at ConCalPod. You're watching this probably live, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights on twitch.tv/ConstantCalibrating. If you're not, and you're watching the later show we put out on Fridays, come here, come watch live. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. We do also our weekly gaming news show. Wow, I'm off tonight. Gaming news show, The Catch-All, Saturdays, youtube.com/ConcalPod. More content going up there as well, as we build back to doing that kind of stuff. And then finally, I'm at Bear Punch. Brad is at OG Xanos. Justin is at The Aging Gamer. And Thaddeus is at Mattius Maximus. And we actually have them written on screen, so I don't have to type them in chat like an idiot. Because I don't know why we haven't done that in a year. Weird shit. You forget about how to do stuff. But that being said, you can do the final stuff, Brad.
All right. So as always, we thank you for joining us, be it live, be it the podcast recorded. And until next week, we bid you good sign off.